Natalia on Luxury with Natalia. A very sunny hello from the south of France, and I'm welcoming here today a special guest all the way in Monaco, I believe. Alicia, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you very much, Natalia. It's lovely to be with you.
Lovely to have you on, and I'm honored because you're quite somebody in the realm of conversation, the art of communication, being an MC, a professional public speaker, and helping others to bring out the best of what they want to say in the best way of communicating. So thanks for coming on. Now that everybody's connected via Zoom and WhatsApp video and all the other amazing online platforms.
Yes.
Let's talk about communicating in a new dimension.
Yes, I mean, now it's all on camera, isn't it? And the way of communicating has really changed and developed because we are forced to be on Zoom and other platforms. So I think that a lot of people are actually very frightened by that because all of a sudden, rather than speaking in person, they are now speaking into a camera. And it's very frightening, isn't it? It's scary because you don't have that contact. So when you are communicating on camera, what you have to do is to try and achieve that human touch and that human contact. And the way to do that is to engage by looking into the camera. So at the moment, I'm looking into the camera and I'm speaking to you. Now, if I look at the screen, and if I look at the screen to talk to you, can you see the difference? Immediately, I'm not as engaged. So every time that we communicate, we look people in the eyes. And now that the eyes are the camera, we have to look into the camera and focus on that. So that would be my first advice for anyone who is now having to communicate in this way. It's about having a conversation still, and it's having that conversation where you're looking the person in the eye so that you come across as interested and interesting.
Very good advice. And I think through these interviews that I've held with people, you can see the difference, definitely. There's people who aren't very comfortable with the process and sort of look down or are looking at the keyboard because they feel gêné, as they say in French. They don't feel very comfortable with the aspect of looking into a little monocular thing there. And that's really some courage that's required, and maybe practice, as you mentioned that.
Yes, definitely. It does need practice because it's not easy because, you know, the temptation is always to look at the screen because you think that you have to communicate by looking at the person, looking at them on the screen. But as soon as you do that, you're actually losing the engagement. So very important to look at that camera. And I think one tip as well that I give to my clients and students is to think of that camera as being someone that you really love or that you're very fond of and that you want to talk to, so that it takes away that feeling of emptiness and that feeling of, oh, I'm just staring into a camera. So think about it as a loved one. Think about it as your best client that you really want to speak to. And that way, you're going to engage warmly, and that's a really big step in communicating effectively.
That's wonderful. And something that I heard as well is that people are scared to prospect over this new platform or the way that we're communicating because they've never met the person before. It becomes a little bit offsetting and they don't know how to go about it. So what would your advice be? I mean, you just kindly mentioned there to think about your best client, of course, but is there anything about the body language perhaps, or, you know, using your hands? I know different countries, different cultures use your hands a lot. Does that help to bring sort of that gap that exists a little bit closer, or what do you think?
Yes, I think that in some ways it replaces that cold call, doesn't it? You know, where you had to pick up the phone for the first time to develop a connection with a client and maybe make a sale. So instead of, in some ways, actually, I think that it's easier now that you can actually be on camera and see the person rather than just speaking on the phone. It's all about the positioning of the camera as well as your engaging with the camera. So you mentioned about people looking down. So it's very important that the camera is at eye level or slightly above eye level, so that we're not getting that. We don't want to get the top of the head, particularly in lockdown when we were all going grey and it showed our roots. And now that we're out of lockdown, we still don't actually want to see the top of our heads. Similarly, we don't want to see up somebody's nose. You know, so if the camera is down and you're looking so that the camera is kind of looking up your nose, it's not a pretty sight. So always have the camera positioned so that it's at eye level or slightly above. I also suggest that it's slightly to the left or slightly to the right so that you come across as being warmer. If you think about people on the red carpet, when they have their photo taken, they're usually slightly at an angle, you'll notice, rather than full frontal, because it's softer, it's more flattering, and it actually comes across as being more warm. So you want to achieve that effect on camera too. You mentioned about using your hands. They should never be a distraction. So I did a video recently about Boris Johnson's speech in England. And what I highlighted was that a lot of the time, what we saw was his hands like this, banging on the table almost, and clenched fists, they were like that. And at several points, he actually used his fist to punch at the camera. So rather than coming across as somebody who was inspiring hope and giving reassurance, it was very aggressive. So we have to be careful the way that we use our hands. They should never be a distraction. I mean, that's the same if we're off camera or on camera, so that the message comes across without it being that we're then looking at the hands. So use your hands sparingly. You can use them, but use them sparingly. And that's the same as when you're speaking in person as well as on camera. You can show your hands, but don't show them too much.
Fantastic advice. I think we'll learn a lot from this. Thank you. So great. And I know you're quite a star on the stage. I mean, you've got not only the MC position, but you also had a quite a good career, or was it a career, as being a singer, a blues singer and a stage performer. That's interesting. So were you born to be on the stage? Did you always want to be that?
I don't know if I was born to be on the stage, but I've always loved music. Music is very, very important to me. So to be able to sing is a blessing, and I appreciate it as a gift to be able to share. Although actually when I was younger, as a little girl, I actually had training as a singer, classic singer, opera, and from the age of 7. And when I reached 14, I was so nervous that I couldn't actually sing anymore. So I stopped, and then I took it up again when I went to university, and I actually had my own band then, and I sang with a jazz band. I went to Warwick University, and for a year I lived in Leamington Spa in England, and I lived above a bar that had a jazz band, so I used to sing with them. And then I've sung with a couple of girls with the Lib Day Darlings here, and we sing songs from the war. And we're also the Diva Darlings, and we do songs through from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And that's real fun. It's a pleasure. And it's always been that it's a fun thing. I was a lawyer, as I think that you know, in a previous life, and that kind of took up my time and took me away from singing. So now it's still it's something that I love to do and I enjoy. But really now my life is about communication training, and that really is my passion and love. So the singing and the emceeing is a bonus really for me.
Fantastic. And I've seen so many people go on stage thanks to your amazing advice, and especially the TEDx Monte Carlo, which was fascinating. The first edition I attended, I was just blown away. I was crying, I was laughing, everything, all these emotions came out. And of course, that's sort of the aim of TEDx in general. So tell me a bit, how is it to teach people who have had no experience? Is it easy? How is the process? Does it take months or weeks? What happens?
It really depends on the student and their abilities, their skills. I teach in a very unusual way, as I'm sure you can imagine, because for me it's about having fun. It's about being able to enjoy the process, because so many people are afraid of public speaking, and you know, it is one of the biggest fears in life. So to be able to help them to overcome that and to really grow in confidence, because you know, for me it's about being able to express yourself, being able to express yourself effectively and make an impact, and to really step out of your comfort zone. So it's helping people to reach that, to really tap into what they can find as a pleasure in it. And I think the most important thing to know in that process is it's never about you, it's actually about your audience. So that takes off the onus immediately. You don't need to feel nervous, you don't need to feel scared, because it's not about you, it's about your audience. How do you want them to feel? If you think about when you're in the audience for the TEDx Monte Carlo sessions, and you're there, you've come to be inspired, you've come to have an enjoyable afternoon, and to come away feeling that you've spent a really good time and you've had the benefit of a lot of advice, a lot of wisdom, and a great experience. So if you think about how you feel when you're in the audience, and that's how you want your audience to feel. So you want them to feel comfortable, you want them to feel inspired, you want them to feel relaxed, and that's when you speak, that's what you achieve. So it's not about you, it's about them. So if you think about, if you come across as being very, very nervous and, you know, uncomfortable, that you're very tense, you're looking down, you're looking at your notes, and it's all very tense and very nervous, and your audience then is looking at you and thinking, ooh, you know, that poor person, they really feel uncomfortable, they're shy, and so your audience feels uncomfortable and think, oh gosh, you know, I really hope that this ends soon, because the poor person up there. You don't want them to feel like that. You want them to feel, yeah, I really want to listen to this person. I really want to hear them. So, you know, think about your audience. Don't think about yourself.
Great advice, absolutely. And I think we have to learn a lot about that in any walk of life and in any situation. It's not about us. For example, sales, it's not about you or the product, it's about the end client and what value you can bring to them. So fantastic. It's the same with
Yes.
on stage.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes. Yeah.
Great. And I'd love to hear some insights or anecdotes. I mean, you've probably met some amazing, wonderful people in your lifetime. And tell me, who would stand out to you the most and why?
Oh, I think that immediately comes to mind is Nelson Mandela. What I loved about Nelson Mandela, I had the opportunity to meet him when I was working with Laureus World Sports Awards. And he came to the awards and he was presenting an award, and he was the most charismatic but also kind man, and so authentic and so sincere. What I loved about Nelson Mandela was that he came to the stage, he went on the stage, he presented the award, and he came off of the stage, and we were all in the wings, the team, and he actually came off of the stage and he spoke to us and he said, I want to thank all of you, because without you, I would not be here, and everything that I do would not be possible. So he said, I applaud you and I thank you. Well, we were all in tears.
Oh, wow, that's quite something. And again, goes back to, it's not about you, it's about everyone else. And that is so true. In any business, it's your team. You are a team, and it's not about the CEO or the MD at the top. It's everybody's efforts that make it work. So, wow.
Yes. And I love that you've mentioned that, Natalia, because my training is always based on us being Team Alicia. Because I do think that it's so important that you feel that you are part of the team. And Team Alicia means that you are in an environment where you are free to be yourself. You are without inhibition. You're not going to be judged. You're going to be helped and supported, and there's going to be respect. And so every time that you are in Team Alicia, you're free to be yourself without inhibition, and you leave all of your cares, your worries, and your anxieties outside the door. So I love that you've mentioned about that, because it's so integral to my training, and that people feel that they are part of the team. It's so important.
I love it. Gosh, I want to get onto team.
Well, you know, the lovely thing about Team Alicia is that it's a lifetime membership. So as soon as you are in Team Alicia, you are in Team Alicia for life, because that support, that care, that nurturing is with you for always. So Natalia, you are now an honorary member of Team Alicia. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Very excited. And if anybody else would like to become a team member of Team Alicia, what do they have to do? How can they contact you?
They can contact me via LinkedIn. I have a profile there if people are on LinkedIn. I also have an email which I can tell you, and maybe you can post it with this interview. It's alicia.sedgwick15@gmail.com. I do have a YouTube channel as well. They could possibly contact me there. And I am on Facebook. I'm on Facebook at the moment as my personal Facebook, which is Alicia Sedgwick. That may change, that it will be a more corporate one, but at the moment, yes, Alicia Sedgwick on Facebook, and yes, by that email, alicia.sedgwick15@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And actually, it's quite nice that it might not be corporate yet, because it brings that human contact and human relation. Sometimes we forget that we are people behind the scenes and not just a logo or a company name. So sometimes I do advise my clients just to keep their identity as it is, because it's more human that way. So great.
Well, that's lovely. That's very good to know. Thank you very much, because, you know, I have spoken to you about sort of developing a website and all this, and a more kind of formal profile, but in many ways, you know, when I am all about that human element, that sits very comfortably with me. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I want to thank you again for coming on, and I hope to see you soon now that we're able to move around and discuss more Team Alicia.
Thank you so much. I will look forward to that, and I'm very grateful and appreciative of spending this time with you today. Thank you.
Wonderful. So everyone keep tuned in for more episodes. This has been Luxury with Natalia, and another episode coming tomorrow. Very exciting. So don't forget to subscribe and like as much as you can. Thanks everyone, and thank you again, Alicia. Bye.
Pleasure.